Welcome back to the Centre Half Bench podcast. Hope you've been enjoying the recent videos. The race for the 8 is now well and truly underway, and the race for the 4. The teams are shaping up for finals, and the contenders are rising to the top. Anyway, here we go.
Anyways, let's get into our big stories for the week. The first one we're going to look at is the Bombers. Where to now? They were down by 10 goals, laughing and piss fighting around at halftime. Have lost 20k members and yet again, no finals. So questions are starting to be raised around the footy club there. Would you agree or not?
Yeah, like at the start of the year, there was talk of finals and them on the way up. Now it looks like they're at least 3 years away from anything big. And on the other end of the spectrum, you got West Coast. The most members this year, AFL Kings, more. I think it was like 101,000. Richmond had 100,040, but they're the most popular club in Australia at the moment. And with only Freo to compete with in a football state of WA, and actual fans allowed to go to the games, you've got to think that that's helping them in their rise.
Yeah, definitely, and especially being obviously WA is a big footy state, like you were saying, and Freo being the epitome of dog shit. It's helpful to have a whole state basically backing you up, which is good on West Coast's behalf. But anyways, we're gonna have a look. They obviously released where the grand final is going to be at this year, and it's going to be at where we expected it to be, and that's up in the Gabba. But the difference is this year we're not sure about the time, but for a fact is we know it's a night game. I am not a fan of it being at the Gabba. It should be at the G. But that's because we're Melbourne biased. But I reckon night games is the way to go. But what do you think about it, Jai?
You see, I'm not too sure. In the Gabba, it shouldn't be at night because I think it was Kane Corn said it's really dewy. Obviously, never played at the Gabba, but I'll take his word for that. And on top of that, it's if it's starting at 7 o'clock, it's going to finish at 10. All the little kids aren't going to be able to watch it. And then that's going to take away part of the audience and I guess the next players that will play.
Yeah, it's got its upsides and it's got its downsides. But if it comes to a final decision, I'm a fan of it. And it's probably going to be, I honestly reckon, it'll be about probably a 7 game, and the game will finish about 9:30-ish. Because, yeah. But anyways, you love to watch a grand final, whether your team's playing it or not. It's just good to see who's been the best team out of the year. But enough of big stories. Let's get into the game reviews. Jai, kick us off.
Obviously, first game of this round, Kangaroos versus Power. Power getting up by 36 after the after the Roos did look good early. Power just controlled the game pretty much from after quarter time. Butters suspended for 2 weeks, wasn't he?
Yeah, Butters suspended for 2 weeks, and I don't think the Power have taken it to tribunal, because when you look at it and you rewatch it, it's a big hit, and especially because he clocked him right on the chin, and obviously Jai Simpkin going down with a concussion. His season's probably over. I don't see him playing again, because if he's not playing this week, they're not making finals. You may as well rest him for the next 2 weeks. Which he's definitely not going to be playing this week. But do you play him the last week of do you play him in the last round? Which I doubt they will. But
and someone that'll want to be playing every week is Travis Boak. 34 touches and a goal. Pretty dominant display from Power, but he was definitely a standout. And we've got here maybe a Brownlow. He's a chance for the Brownlow. I think Lockie Neal's got him covered, but
yeah, he's been the bright light in a star-studded Port Adelaide season, which is good to see, especially from your older players as well, like Travis Boak, and it's not all the young players just coming in and taking over. But speaking of old players, Hawks versus Saints, and the Hawks are filled with old players. Jai, tell us what you're thinking about that.
Yeah. So obviously Saints got up by 14. Hawks had a point to prove after losing to Adelaide, being the first ones to lose to them. Obviously Giants were next to follow, but we'll get into that later. But old fellas, Clarko, been coaching for a long time. He was criticising the Saints' game plan, saying it wouldn't stand up in finals, a kind of kick to mark sort of thing. West Coast played that in 2018. They won. There's an example that it works there. But in saying that, I don't see Saints going far. But with Clarko and his team the way he's performing, I think he should focus on Hawks rather than judging other teams' game styles.
Yeah, definitely. But we all know Alistair Clarkson. He's always been the type of player to critique teams, whether it's his or it isn't his. Obviously, the start of the year saying Geelong weren't a good team, and then after that, Geelong went and lost a couple games. But now I think they have critiqued that and making Clarko's words look meaningless, basically. But enough talking about the losing side. Let's talk about the winning side in St Kilda. And Rowan Marshall, can he be the next great ruckman in the comp? He can do nearly everything. He's obviously a good ruckman. He can kick goals. He kicked 2 goals against the Hawks, and he's a decent player to get the footy. He's he and Grundy are kind of becoming that extra midfielder that is starting to regulate around the footy, and
yeah, for sure. And with a ruck like Marshall, who's obviously very dominant, having a bloke like Jack Steele to tap it down to obviously helps. Jack Steele, once again, 21 touches, 7 contested possessions and 1 goal. He's looking very good. He will be a star for the future, and that's certain.
And if he's not getting the highest amount of touches on the game, he's making up for those 4 or 5 touches that he missed out on by a goal or 2. He's just showing that he can literally do everything, and we don't have a lot of goal scoring midfielders in the competition, and it's great to see one in. But let's get on to the next game. Geelong versus Essendon. Cats pure domination. Not much else to say. Just you can't. They left you really speechless. Basically, 66 points, and you can't really say much. It was a perfect performance for the Cats, basically.
Yeah, very confident win for the Cats. Obviously, Bombers, like we mentioned, they've gone nowhere over the course of maybe 3 years. There was talk of finals, and they made finals last year, got flogged in the first round. They really haven't gone anywhere over 3 years. They've dropped off from the start of the season to now, whether that's between, obviously, the coaches have been changed over halfway through the season, pretty much. Now the new coach has taken over. Whether it's got something to do with that, because they are implementing a new game style, whatever it is, they've dropped off from the start of the season. They've gone nowhere for 3 seasons. I don't see them going anywhere for another 3 seasons, and it doesn't look good to go for Bombers.
I completely agree. And when Dylan Shields signed for the club from and leaving the Giants, people kind of thought, okay, he's going to bring in some winning culture, hard nut midfielder, and all around player. But it's just kind of looking as like he's a very good player, but it's not looking very, very pretty for those Bombers. And but a player that it is looking really good for is Sam Menengola with 30 touches and 2 goals. That's a good effort, and his fitness levels are impeccable. Like, they're crazy. He runs up the field like it's nothing.
Yeah, potential All-Australian, you could say. He's obviously in very good nick, and yeah.
It just shows the fitness levels of that Geelong side. But next game, Jai, you want to kick us off and talk about the Doggies-Eagles game?
Yeah. So Dogs getting up by 2 points. Obviously, Bont with that clutch goal to put them up by 1. And then a point after the siren. Yeah, controversial, possibly the game of the season. West Coast may be robbed. Probably not, because one angle showed it was behind. Inconclusive evidence to overturn it, and it was originally called a goal, so that goes Dogs away every day of the week. West Coast away, again, couldn't get the win. And, which Dogs will rock up in the coming weeks and in finals? Will it be the Dogs that played West Coast or the Dogs that played and got spanked by teams like, the Pies? And, depends which Dogs will turn up, depends how their season goes.
Very much like Melbourne this year. And obviously those two teams, them, GWS and Melbourne, are fighting for that 8th spot. So when they're going at each other, and all three of those teams have been very inconsistent, you just kind of think who's actually going to come out on top at the end of the year, which that fight for the 8th spot is going to be massive. But let's get into one of our favourite parts of the podcast. Let's get into footy stocks.
Yeah, so if you're new to the podcast, Footy Stocks is our main segment where we talk about a thing we like this week, a thing we don't like, and a thing we want to hold on to. So the thing we like, we buy stocks in. The thing we don't like, we want to sell stocks in. And then the thing we're not sure about is what we're holding stocks in. So anyway, Sash, what are you going to buy?
Buying, obviously, the Crows have been turning it around lately, back-to-back wins. I think the Crows might win 5+ games next year. And I think if they can re-sign, I think it's Brad and Matt, basically, and Tex if he can get his form together, I think they could do all right. And Rory Sloane is obviously Rory Sloane. So I got the Crows winning 5+ games next year. What are you looking to buy into?
Yeah, so at the moment we all know about Grundy and Gawn. They're the two main ruckmans, but for me, I've got Tim English and Rowan Marshall becoming the next Grundy and Gawn over the coming years, whether that's 5 years, 10 years. They're both going to be elite rucks of footy to come. Yeah,
they'll definitely be competing with Grundy because obviously we know Gawn is at the back end of his career. I think he's 30 this year, maybe 30-odd. So he's coming to the end of his career. But Tim English, Rowan Marshall and Grundy, they're looking very good for their future. So I agree with you on that. I can hold you for that. To sell, honestly, we've been tough on the Hawks and we just keep getting tougher. The Hawks will not be in the finals contention for the next 3+ years.
Fair enough. Like, they're not in good nick and they're only going to go down because they do have an old list and not many draft picks. For me, it might be 5 years, to be honest. I don't see them getting anywhere anytime soon unless they can turn their shit around. They
definitely got to build up around Warple, O'Meara, Wingard, Impey if he can stay fit, all those type of players. But if they can't get their act together, it's going to be a long, long couple years for Hawk supporters and the Hawthorn Footy Club. But if they can sign some free agents, like some good free agents, I think they could turn around. And, Clarko can do anything, basically.
Yeah, and to do with the ageing list, for me, I'm selling retirees. It's a pretty bad part of the year when you see all the ex-greats retiring and stopping playing. And obviously, go put family first. Played for 10+ years, put the game aside. But it's, you wonder, like, how good it would be if people can play forever, which they obviously can't. But
yeah, it'd be cool to see all, like, Dane Swan play together, Alan Didak.
Get Dane Swan and De Goey in the same team. Huh.
Oh, the explosiveness of that gets us excited. But we know it can never happen. But to hold on to, I'm going to hold on to the Doggies' finals hopes. I think they're a genuine chance, but they got to pull their shit together these next 2 weeks. And if they're going to get into finals, they're going to need some big performances from Bont, Bailey Smith, Tim English, just that whole team basically. Aaron Norton, even Josh Bruce, who's been absolutely dog shit this year. He's got to turn it around and start performing as well if they're looking to make a push for the finals.
Yeah, and you're mentioning Dogs finals for this year. I'm holding on to Freo's finals hopes for next year. Obviously, they were going nowhere at the start of the season, and they've turned that around very quickly. They had to have time to put in Justin Longmuir's game plan, but now that it's in place, they seem like a pretty shit team to play because they just stop you from scoring pretty much. Very defensive. Obviously, Longmuir was our defensive coach for a couple of years. But honestly, if they can keep this up, I can see them playing finals next year. They won't go far, but I think they'll make the top 8.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to get another good draft pick this year to build around Sarong, Brayshaw, Akers, Luke Ryan, even Nat Fyfe, who honestly, although a very, very good midfielder, he shows that he can go up forward and spend an extended 3 or 4 years up there like Matty Pavlich did at the end of his career. So it's lovely to see that Freo's starting to come along and not compete with the Eagles, but kind of like squeeze themselves into the picture, like the tiniest bit. But yeah. Anyways, that's gonna wrap up Footy Stocks. Thanks for listening, and let's get back into the game reviews.
Yeah, so I mentioned Freo. The game here, Freo versus Melbourne. The D's were once again inconsistent. That we say it pretty much every week. They have a good game and then they have a shit game, and this was a very shit game considering they had finals on the line and they lost to Freo pretty convincingly in the end.
Yeah, not pretty. Not pretty. 14 points. It's not a massive win, but it's a comfortable win. But yeah, have the D's blown finals in the last 2 weeks? That's got to be the question to start asking. And Jack Viney, that's a tough man right there. He has nerves of steel, and to get up from, I think it was Tabiner that hit him on accident. Yeah, but it was a big hit. I'm not sure who it was, but I think it may have been Tabiner. But to get up from that like it was nothing, you got to have balls of steel for that shit.
Yeah, and Walter's kicking 3 goals, half of Freo's 6 goals. He looks very good.
Yeah, and obviously I don't think he hadn't kicked a goal before the week before that. It had been 4 or 5 weeks, which was the longest stretch of his career. So to kick 3 this week, it releases a lot of pressure off him. But next game, and hands down, the upset of the week. The Crows have done it again. 2021 flags. The flag is going to Adelaide.
I guess the form they're going at the moment, they could be beating Richmond in 2 weeks' time, round 18. But yeah, at the moment, obviously, Port Adelaide, the pride of South Australia, even though that's in Crow's song, but the Crows are showing that they could potentially be there in the coming years. Like, it's been a pretty quick turnaround, obviously, down for 15, 14 weeks, but what they've shown over the last 2 years, if they can keep that up and not do what the Suns do and drop off, I can see them having a very quick turnaround even after nearly having a winless season.
Yeah, agreed. They're starting to turn around heaps, and a win off the back last week to Hawthorn and a win off the back to GWS. Like I said before, it's opening up the Doggies' hopes. Melbourne slip up, GWS slip up, Doggies get the win. It's tight for that 8th spot. But to look at another player that has stepped up, 2 players actually, McAdam and Stengel are looking very, very good.
Yeah, they add a lot of excitement and flair to that Adelaide team. And then the team that's been down for most of the year, that's what you need to get you up and going, especially when they have blown leads. A goal from one of those two and it gets the team up and going, and that's what we saw against Giants, and it got them over the line in the end. And on that note, Crows, over this year only, have won more games in September than Essendon have in the last 16 years. Crows have won 2 games in September this year. Essendon have won 1 in the last 16 years. That was in 6th of September 2015, round 23 against the Pies, and they only won that by 3 points. So Crows have had a terrible season, yet they've still outplayed Essendon in September's over the last 16 years. Just once again highlights what we've been talking about Essendon and that slump that they have had now for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, and who do Essendon have this week? Essendon have Port Adelaide this week, and next week they have Melbourne. Can they break that streak of wins in September? Who the hell knows? It'll be interesting. And something else that it's interesting. Adam Sard has not been re-signed yet.
Yeah, apparently he's on the trade table, or he's seen as gettable by other teams. So other teams are looking to swoop on him, but a player that was swooped up was the Swans swooping up Louis Taylor. Big moment, down by 6 points to tie the game in the dying seconds of the Blues-Swans game, and he shanked an easy kick, to be honest. The Swans blew a 7-goal lead. It was 4-43. They ended up losing by 5. It's not only Louis Taylor's fault. Like, if you blow a 7-goal lead, it's not only one player, but it was a pretty easy kick and not too far out.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. This will make Blues fans happy, but that Louis Taylor was not a free kick. It shouldn't have been a free kick in the first place. If you watch the game, it was an obvious duck, but they say in the NBA a lot, the ball doesn't lie. And from what we saw, the ball didn't lie, Jai. It did not lie. He shanked that to the right, lost them the game, and basically, that's it.
Yeah, and the match-winning goal for the Blues was from young Cottrell. Grew up as a blue bagger, heart and soul, passion, kicked the goal. You could tell how much it meant to him, and he put his name on the AFL map.
He sure did, because honestly, going into that game, I had no idea who the hell he was.
I thought he was Mitch Robinson 2.0, to be honest, but
I just saw a Ranger man in a Carlton jersey take a big mark. I'm like, holy shit, if he kicks this, that's game. He went back and kicked it. So, good on him. It's a childhood dream for everyone to play in the colours that they grew up supporting. So, and to do that on the big stage, he's definitely cemented his place on the AFL map.
Yeah, and on to the final game of this round, Q Clash, Lions versus Suns. Lions winning by 45 points in the end, easy win. What happened to the Suns after that bright start? Obviously, they're young and they're going to drop off, but it's not what you like to see.
Yeah, we knew that at the start of the year. But young team, they're going to get better over time. But let's have a look at a past first overall pick. Cam Rayner, 3 goals, 1. He's starting to live up to that first overall pick potential that he was drafted at?
Yeah, for sure. The number 1 picks, in my opinion, they either don't get going because of the pressure of being number 1, or they take a couple of years to get used to being number 1 and to get going. For me, it seems like Rayner's finally getting going now. Obviously, Stevenson in the same draft. Stevenson outplayed him for his first season, but at the moment, Rayner's starting to get lessen that gap.
Yeah, for sure. And he's actually gained some elite fitness skills to go into the middle and actually contest there. And coming into the draft, he was a midfielder. So him to be playing in the guts and just showing that hard nut midfielder type skills that he was drafted for, it looks really good to see. And around the club, they call him Pumba. Just wanted to throw that out there. I saw it on Harris Andrews' Instagram, and honestly, one of the better nicknames in the AFL.
Yeah. And after this season, they might be calling this man Lachie Neale Chaz. In my opinion, pretty much a walk-in Brownlow winner. In the end, it might be a fight for second because I see this man dominating pretty much every week.
Yeah, you can't stop him. And if he's not getting 33 touches, he's still getting 25 plus, which is just, he's unstoppable. He, like you said, he's a walking Brownlow medalist. it's crazy to think Freo let him go. Like, obviously they were reluctant to, but Brisbane have got a superstar.
And another very good player for Brisbane is Hugh McCluggage. Obviously a high draft pick in his draft year. 28 touches, 9 contested, and 1 goal. Very good game from the young bloke. And yeah, just like Rayner, he's living up to his expectations.
Yeah. I've always liked McCluggage. I think he's a great player. I like the way he plays, and he's a very classy wingman. But if it comes to getting the hard footy, he'll go in there and he'll dive on it. And he's got very much of a baby face, I've realised. So, like, when you look at him, you just see a baby, and then he grabs the footy and he just becomes an absolute monster on it. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's podcast.
So that's it for this week. Hope you are all enjoying the episodes coming out pretty much weekly. If you haven't already, check out all our socials. Pretty much centre half bench on everything. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok. Stick with us. We're only going to get better.
All right, let's wrap it up then, Dry. Peace in the Middle East.